All right, hi friends. So an amazing match, the one that we expected, Djokovic versus Alcaraz, epic battle, four-setter. I know I predicted Alcaraz to win in four sets. It did not happen. It was the opposite. But I was pleasantly surprised that Djokovic was able to put up this level of performance. Really, I felt that he was playing well. He was moving better than the last year, but not up to the mark still, which is still the case. But I feel he gathered a lot of energy when it was needed the most. He played the important points really well, whether it was serving to save the break points or whether it was going for a winner when he had chances on a break point. He was just giving his 110% today, and that is why he emerged as the champion in this match. Now, a lot of things to discuss in this video. We have the math statistics, we have the key factors, we have the key pattern of play that were advised by both Alcaraz and Djokovic, and also the significance of this victory, plus a few examples. And I know there was a lot of discussion about the injury that Djokovic had in the second set. I was just going through the post-match discussions between the experts, and there are a few things which I did not agree with, and I would like to discuss on those as well. So let's get started. First, let's look at the match statistics. So very close match, as you can see. Serve was a key factor, which we'll discuss later. But as you can see, aces, Alcaraz was better. So the right hand side, just to clarify, is Alcaraz, and left hand side is Djokovic statistics. So in the first serve percentage department, and the first serve points won. Alcaraz was better. The win on second serve, as you can see, 58% for Djokovic. That was much better, and that was one of the important stats. The second serve points won, and also the ability to convert the break points and the ability to return the first serve and the second serve of the opponent. Those were the key strengths, and I think that was the difference in this match because both the players were playing well. They were making errors as well. They were stretching themselves. But the deciding factor for me was Djokovic's serve and his return of serve. That was the key to this match. Now, if you talk about the fastest serve, again, Alcaraz is expected to have a bit more speed. Djokovic usually has more accuracy on his serve. The winners to unforced errors, as you would have expected, Alcaraz is a much more aggressive player, so he would have more winners. As you can see, 50 winners for Alcaraz and 40 unforced errors, so very good ratio. Every time you have a positive winner to unforced error ratio, it means the quality of the match was good, which was in this case. And 31 winners for Djokovic, 27 unforced errors. So again, good ratio for Djokovic as well. But the important point was at what time they were able to produce those winners and at what time they made those errors. Okay. Now talking about the break points one, so 46% for Djokovic, and the net points also. I think both of them played very well at the net. Receiving points won 38%, total points won 135. So not much difference between the players. So then what was the difference, right? How was the match won? Let's look at it in the key factors. Now, even before that, let's get into the pattern of play. So, a few things that Alcaraz was trying to do, and rightly so. One was to hit a lot of drop shots. Number one, because Alcaraz is good at it. He is, I think, the best drop shot hitter in the game right now. Secondly, to test Djokovic's movement, because even in his previous rounds, Djokovic was struggling physically. And in this match also, if you see a lot of times where Alcaraz hit a drop shot, Djokovic did not even run to get it. He clearly understood that he's not going to make it, so he did not even go for it. So that was one thing, drop shot. And second, the slice. So if you see in this screenshot, right, the pattern of play that Alcaraz is trying to make here is that he wants to hit a low shot, maybe a slice or a shot that doesn't bounce too much. Okay, but that is deep. So that is the shot number one here. So he would play this shot here deep into the Djokovic's backhand corner, and Djokovic would have to bend down. So first of all, he had strapping on his leg because of the injury, so he was not bending too much down and for those type of shots, and he was not going back down the line because of that. If you see, when he started the match, he was hitting much more backhand down the line, but afterwards he was restricted in his movement and he chose to hit more cross court. and Alcaraz took advantage of it. So if you see this pattern of play, right, what he would do is he would hit this shot low enough so that Djokovic has to bend, and then Djokovic is somewhere here in this position, so he cannot attack. Djokovic cannot attack that ball because it's too low. So Djokovic would try to play a percentage shot that would land somewhere here, which is depicted by the yellow line, which is shot number two. And then Alcaraz, because he's so quick, he would always, most of the times, run around his backhand and take this shot on the forehand. And then he could go either way. He could go up the line. He could also hit it cross court, inside out forehand, and he would hit it with a lot of power. We all know Alcaraz's forehand is just lethal. So in that way, he won a lot of points, multiple points like this. And Djokovic was finding it difficult to find an answer for this pattern of play. So something to watch out for in the future as well. Second is this. So I think this is for Djokovic, and Alcaraz also did it a lot of times. So Djokovic went back behind his opponent a few times because, as we all know, Alcaraz is a great mover and he was basically able to reach every shot. Sometimes I felt that Djokovic was a bit too lazy in some of the shot selection where he was having ascendancy in the point and he chose to go for drop shots himself, which was not a good tactic because Alcaraz is so quick. Even if he is not playing well, that quickness doesn't go away. So he will still reach for the ball, he will still hit the shot and finish the point. So here Djokovic did the right thing to go back behind the opponent so that he impacts the balance of Alcaraz and takes away the time from him. And that is why he was able to win a few points like this. Another pattern of play was the drop shots, as I already mentioned. So here in the screenshot, you can see Alcaraz used a lot of drop shots, and most of the times he was successful. Even if Djokovic reached there, it was very difficult for him to hit a shot, even though he managed because of his great game and his mental strength. He was able to still pull up some of those points, but more often than not, it was Alcaraz. Now, another thing, as I mentioned, this is the same example, the same pattern of play. As you can see, Alcaraz has just hit a slice backhand, which forces Djokovic to bend. And then sometimes he chooses to play a cross court backhand, a topspin backhand, whereas sometimes he also prefers to go for the slice because it gives him more control on the ball. But again, what it does is it allows time for Alcaraz to run around his backhand and hit this forehand depicted by the green line. So just reiterating the strategy, the pattern of play that I had mentioned. Now, key factors. Second serve points won by Djokovic, right? As I mentioned, second serve points were very important for him because he did not want to rally much against Alcaraz, and also return of serve. Now, talking about Djokovic's injury scare, right? So there was a lot of discussion about this in the post-match discussions among the experts, and I felt it was a bit incorrect in my opinion because no player is actually faking any injury. We saw Djokovic limping at the end of the first set many times. He was struggling. He got that strapping on that leg, and you could literally see him not going for his shots. He was not trying to bend too much, right? Uh, Whether it was backhand or forehand, and it did affect him. He a lot of shots he missed, or those you can call unforced errors, but those were actually errors because of this injury. Now, lot of experts were saying that this is something that many players do, and it comes under gamesmanship, and they do it just to sort of break the momentum of the other player. Well, that is not exactly true. Now, there are two different things. One is the bathroom break, which is allowed to be taken in a match. I think it is allowed for 5 minutes. Then the other thing is the injury timeout. Now, one thing to mention here is that the doctors who look at the players, who see the players when they are injured during the match, are not their personal doctors, right? They are the official ATP doctors, and they would only give medication if there is an injury. As you would have heard that for cramps, they do not give any medication, or they do not massage you, right? Just like that. So there has to be some injury, and then they give you medication. Medication is mostly painkillers, right? That was also being discussed, that what sort of medication they are taking, what is that magical medication. I think it's nothing but painkillers. I'll give you a few examples. If you remember 2005, Andre Agassi clearly mentioned that he used to take a lot of injections to control his pain or control his injury when he was playing at the US Open, and he reached the final. Even in the final, I think he played great against Roger Federer. He was not able to win the match, but that clearly showed his effort. Last to last year, Rafael Nadal, he was struggling physically. Lot of matches he was not able to compete well. He took injury timeouts, and again he also did the same thing. He got the medication, and that is why when players say that it took some time to kick in, that's what they are saying, right? If you are in pain and you take a painkiller, it won't be magical and it won't start affecting you in 1 minute, but slowly it starts getting better. It's not healing the injury, it's just masking the injury, right? And that is why Djokovic clearly mentioned, and a lot of the other players who have done this have mentioned that the actual reality they would come to know the next day, when the whole effect of the medication vanishes, and then you get the pain again, right? Because the injury was not healed, it was just masked. So just to clarify, this is what happens when they take that medication. It takes some time to kick in, and basically you don't feel the pain anymore because you are on medication and you can finish the match. But after that, when again the medication goes away, you again start feeling the pain. So that has affected Nadal, that has affected Federer, that has affected Agassi, that has affected many players. So it's perfectly normal for them to take these sort of medications, although it's not good enough or it's not a good practice, because it further affects their injury, because you are playing with injury and just masking the pain. So that was one point I wanted to clarify regarding the injury. The second thing, it's well within the rules. Okay, you can opt for a bathroom break, you can opt for an injury timeout if the doctors agree that you have caught something. So, plus, only sidelining Djokovic in this discussion was not correct. I'm just trying to clarify the discussion that I saw. Federer has done that. If you remember Australian Open 2017, in the fifth set, Federer took a medical timeout. Nadal has taken a lot of medical timeouts during his career. I remember the Hamburg match in 2008 on clay, where Nadal was down 1-5 in the first set against Federer. He took a medical timeout, and it completely put Federer off guard, and his concentration just got away. And then he lost that same set from 1-5 down. Nadal came back to win that set. And Federer was playing really well. So it does happen. I understand that when there is a break of any sorts, whether it's a rain delay or whether it's a medical timeout or a bathroom break, it breaks the momentum of the opponent, but that is not done intentionally. So that's one thing to say, and it's perfectly within the rules. So a lot of discussion to pinpoint Djokovic, but I think that was unfair because many players, including Federer, Nadal, and some of the other players, have done that. So again, now, getting back to the factors, return of serve for Djokovic, I've already mentioned. Unforced errors later in the match from Alcaraz. Now, that was surprising to see because Alcaraz was playing really well for the first couple of sets. And later on, maybe he just ran out of ideas on what was the correct pattern of play for him. Because when he was rallying, Djokovic was also rallying well. There were 30 plus shots, even though those shots or those rallies were taking much more out of Djokovic than Alcaraz. But the result was not always in Alcaraz's favor. It was 50-50%. That's why maybe he thought that he needs to go for more, and it has worked. Previously, the match that comes to my mind is the French Open, where Alcaraz won against Yannick Sinner. So there also, I thought Sinner was playing well. He was in cruise control of the match. Suddenly, Alcaraz started going for his shots, and he was hitting outright winners. It was break point, whatever it was, an important point, and he was producing amazing tennis. That's what he tried to do today also. It did not work. And that is natural, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So it's not surprising. No one is a perfect player, even for Federer. Some days his shots go as winners, sometimes they go as unforced errors. So that is understandable. The backhand down the line for Djokovic was key, even though he reduced the percentage of those shots later in the match because of his injury, but still he was going for those, and that was important to break the pattern of play that Alcaraz was using. which I mentioned previously, right? Now, drop shots for Alcaraz, I think not only Alcaraz, it's the same for all the players. That is a go-to shot if you are playing against Djokovic, because he, first of all, he plays very far behind the baseline in a rally, and he likes to rally. He likes to play those 30 shots. You can push him to any side, whether on the forehand or the backhand. He would stretch. He has got good flexibility, and he would still be able to change the direction of the shot as well. So the only way to counter that is to use a drop shot. Now, earlier in his career, Djokovic would reach to multiple drop shots and would hit a passing shot or a winner from there. Right now also he's able to do it, but it takes a lot out of him, and his win or lose ratio is around 50-50%. So it's still a good tactic for other players to apply. So I think we have discussed all the key factors. Now, talking about the significance of the victory. Now, I think important win for Djokovic, because first of all, no one expected this to happen. Most of the people were saying that Alcaraz would win, including me, and he was the favorite on paper. He was playing well. He was fresher of the two, not having any physical injuries or scares, and confidence-wise also Alcaraz was high in confidence. Now, it was a match that Djokovic had to play well to win, and he did produce some of his best tennis that I have seen this year, and also compared to last year, where he was certainly out of form. And I think this is a very important win for him, just to give him some confidence. Even if he doesn't go on to win the Australian Open, I think this victory would stay in his mind forever. And at this age, to be able to win against one of the legends already in the game, that is Alcaraz, I think it's a huge confidence booster for him. He can still believe that if he can beat Alcaraz, not all the times he would need to play both Alcaraz and Sinner to win a Grand Slam. Maybe he gets an easier draw in one of those Grand Slams, and because of this win, he will have confidence that maybe he can pull another match like this, and then that would result in another Grand Slam. So that's what he would take from this victory. Other thing, talking about this Australian Open, obviously the path gets tougher because he needs to recover. He needs to play against Zverev, again, who is playing really well and has troubled Djokovic in the past. Zverev also likes to play from the baseline. The advantage that Zverev has is his first serve is very good, and even with the standards that Djokovic has, it is not easy to return the serve, right? And then even if you are able to get past that hurdle, you face Yannick Sinner, right? And Sinner is playing well, although he also has physical issues, and it's to be seen how he plays in his next match, because clearly he also looked down and out in his last match, and it was looking like maybe he will not be able to continue that match, but he was able to find a way. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. But if he is fit, and let's hope that he is fit, I feel that Sinner still is the favorite to win this tournament, and he's game wise, he's playing the best tennis. So Djokovic would find it really difficult, because against Alcaraz, Djokovic had that liberty because Alcaraz made a lot of unforced errors that gave some free points to Djokovic. Sinner doesn't make those many unforced errors, right? And he's very quick. He hits with a lot of power. He takes time away from Djokovic, and it's very difficult. It's very similar to Djokovic, right? So it's like two players are playing with similar style of tennis. Both are equally talented, and probably Djokovic, because of his age, cannot compete well in terms of fitness and movement against Sinner if he is fit enough, right? So let's see what happens. And 50th semi-final for Djokovic, another huge record. So congratulations to him. A very good victory in the end. And so please comment if you like this video and what were your thoughts on all the points that I discussed. And thanks for watching.